Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Definitely you have been enjoying some of the vacations have been given to you. Now we should move towards the second term. The first lesson of the second term is The Adventure of the Dying Detective by Arthur Conan Doyle. Dear students, all sections of 8th class are being addressed here. The activity for the first lesson is to build vocabulary and give a sharp introduction of the lesson. So this lesson is from Oxford Modern English, book 8, and your teacher Sayyid Mubashir Hussain Shah is here for you. The main objectives of the lesson are to enable the students to enjoy reading a detective story. Number 2, to improve vocabulary of the students and to introduce the storyteller, great storyteller Arthur Conan Doyle. Dear students, first activity of this lesson is to prepare some of the words. Try to improve your vocabulary. It will help you to understand the interesting story. The summary of the lesson is the adventure of this dying detective is very much interesting. This story focuses mainly on Sherlock Holmes himself, who claims to be quite ill and about to die from a smartern disease. Mrs. Hudson, his housekeeper, is quite worried about him, so she convinces Dr. Watson to visit him in the apartment. Once Watson has seen Holmes, he too is convinced that Holmes is dying, so he leaves to fetch the one person who Holmes claims can save him. Calverton Smith is the name of that person. Watson returns to Holmes' apartment before Smith and hides behind the bed in order to overhear what Smith and Holmes discuss. Smith admits to Holmes that he killed his own nephew and also that he sent Holmes a package designed to infect him with the same disease. Holmes asks Smith to light the gas. This signals the presence of the investigator, who is waiting outside to come inside and arrest Smith. The main characters are here. The adventure of the dying detective has only 3 major characters: Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson, and Calverton Smith. These 3 play significant roles in advancing the plot and getting us to the conclusion of the story. 3 minor characters also make appearances. These are Mrs. Hudson, Mr. Smith's butler, and Inspector Morton. The first main character can be called the key role played by Sherlock Holmes, and Sherlock Holmes is the front and center of the mystery. As always, he is in the Sherlock Holmes stories. In this particular story, he occupies an even bigger role, since he is not only investigating the mystery but also serves as its focus. The central question that the reader is trying to answer in the story is whether Holmes is actually sick, and if he is not, why he is pretending to be. Holmes has 2 primary functions in the story. He solves the mystery and he is a potential victim of a crime. Next person is Dr. Watson. Dr. Watson is the major role, and he is a person who is in confidence of Sherlock Holmes. His role in the mystery is much like it usually is in the stories of Sherlock Holmes. He is forever one step behind Holmes, and perhaps a little behind the reader as well. As is the case in most Sherlock Holmes mysteries, Watson has the important function of needing to have things explained to him by Holmes. As Holmes walks Watson through the details of the case, the reader gets to learn them as well. In the adventure of the dying detective, Watson also keeps the story moving by making sure that Calverton Smith comes to Holmes' home at the right time to be overheard and arrested. Calverton Smith is the next major character in the story. Calverton Smith is the villain of the mystery. We begin to suspect this early on when Holmes mentions casually that he had accused Smith of murdering his nephew. After that, if the reader had any remaining doubt as to whether Calverton Smith was the villain, these doubts most likely disappeared when Watson offered his description of Smith. Here are some of the pictures of this great story, and you can easily understand the main characters are in this story. About the author, we should know Sir Arthur Ignatius Conan Doyle. He was born in 22nd May 1859 and ends his career by 7 July 1930. He was a British writer and medical doctor. He created the character Sherlock Holmes in 1887 when he published A Study in Scarlet, the first of 4 novels and more than 50 short stories about Holmes and Dr. Watson. The Sherlock Holmes stories are generally considered milestones in the field of crime fiction. Here the major figures of this author, and you can easily understand, and this picture has been taken in 1914, and also you can see a few aspects of his personality, and then you can also see the signature of this great writer. Dear students, now at the end of the lesson you are being advised to do some homework, and you need to read the story and underline all the difficult words and write in there, and you definitely need notebooks. Thank you very much.